Liberate IT is an Oracle NetSuite solution provider that has been servicing Australian and New Zealand companies since 2011.
Well, good morning, everyone, to the latest of our webinar series. Today, we are covering all things cash. That includes importing it, matching it, and applying it. I am your host today, Andrew Liniger, the Relationship Manager of Liberate IT. So if you have any requests around enhancing or improving NetSuite, I'm your man. Obviously, any break fix issues, go to support desk. They'll be more than happy to help you out with those. Okay, quick agenda today. We'll be going through the 22.1 release rollout, the data center migration. I thought, hey, today might be a good day just to talk about NetSuite outages and our upcoming user event, and then we'll get into the webinar proper. So I'll be really quick. I won't take up too much of your time. In terms of housekeeping, I am recording today's session. As usual, we'll be posting that on our website and on our YouTube channel. So if you want to go back and check out anything that Meera has said later on, you can do that. It takes about a week for us to get that up online. Also, we're more than happy. In fact, we love you to ask questions along the way. I'll be reading those out to Meera as we go, and I'll be interrupting her, but please, so I'll be monitoring the Q&A function, but not the chat. So please, if you can stick to Q&A, that'd be amazing. Okay, so new release is coming. A small handful of our customers are on the new release. Most are coming on board mid-March, so not too far now. We at Liberate will be in phase 3, so that's mid-April. To know exactly when you're getting upgraded, jump onto the release portlet on your dashboard. It will give you all the details that relate to your individual subscription there, including, the overview, the release notes if you can't sleep at night, and the sneak peek looks like it's actually the same as the overview this time around, but do check those out. Okay, data center migration is continuing. So if you're not aware, NetSuite are migrating all of our customers in New Zealand and in Australia over to the Sydney and Melbourne data centers. That project was initially flagged to last until May this year. I think they've extended that now. There was a bit of a pause during the Christmas New Year period. That's recommencing for a couple of our customers this weekend. NetSuite will send you an in-app notification for the date of that data center move. Unfortunately, a bit frustrating for us as your partner. NetSuite can't tell us who's scheduled when. So keep an eye out for those in-app applications. If it's business critical for you, something you really need to know, reach out to me. I can see if we can bump you up the queue as well. So reach out to me for that. Okay, so I thought today might be a good day, given that one of the NetSuite data centers in the US had an outage this morning. Two things with that. If you're not sure which data center you're on, under the company information tab of NetSuite is a little section down here called the data center. This is a test environment, so that it is in the US Santa Clara data, which is interesting. Look, most customers are in the Seattle data center, and we're migrating those across to Melbourne and Sydney shortly. So would also strongly recommend you to go into the status.netsuite.com website. This is the online real-time updates of what's actually going on if there are any issues. One thing that I strongly recommend is they've added a subscribe to updates. Now, it is updates for all their data centers all the time, so sometimes it might feel a little bit spammy, but the good news is if you find yourself not being able to log in or there's an issue, NetSuite will be sending you real-time updates as to what they're doing, when they expect to have it resolved by, and keep you fully informed. We'd still encourage you to let us know. We need to know who's been impacted by any particular outages. And this morning's one was a little reasonably short, but if there ever is an extended one, we have our ways to get some more information from NetSuite. So really keen to know that. So that's support@liberate.it.com. Okay. Online user events coming up Tuesday week, the 8th of March, 1 p.m. New Zealand time. That's 11 a.m. Australian time. We'll be grabbing in the team from NetSuite to talk about what's to come, a little bit about the future, and anything that they're keen to share with you. The biggest part of that, though, will be our consultants guiding you through the new features. At this stage, you know, on the dashboard portlet, it's talking a little bit about Cashflow 360, which if you're here today for today's webinar, you're going to be interested in. Look, if you're NetSuite are doing something a little bit different with the Cashflow 360 and releasing this as a suite app, and we're expecting that to be in place after all the updates. So that's after mid-April is done. So if you are updating next month and you don't see the Cashflow 360, don't panic, it's coming. NetSuite is just releasing that in a different way. Project 360, you'll see on the dashboard as well, is highlighted there. Similar thing to Cashflow 360, but it is restricted to only customers with Suite projects. So if you're using project management, don't have Suite projects, come and talk to me and I'll navigate that way through for you. Some other things, supply planning improvements, some tweaking there, some tweaking around WMS, and some improvements to Suite Analytics Workbook. We're still finalizing our agenda of everything that we think will be most valuable to you. So there's some of the highlights there that I think we might be covering. And of course, there's going to be more. Invitations are sent out in the latest Info Hub, which was about 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 now. If you're not getting the Info Hub, which is our newsletter, please email me and I'll make sure that you get added. Okay, so without any further ado, I am going to introduce Meera Smith. She's one of our senior functional consultants and a bit of an expert all things cash application. So I am going to hand over to Meera now, and she will take you through all things cash. Thanks, Meera.
Thanks, Andrew, for that lovely introduction. Hello, everyone. How are you today? Hope you're having a good week. So today we're going to talk about a release that came out in 2021.2. It's called the Automated Cash Application. It's something that's been in progress for a while, and we've all been waiting for an easier way to reconcile our bank statement. So the purpose of this feature really is to ensure that we are able to match any incoming payments or customer payments against the correct customers and the correct invoices without having to go away from the bank reconciliation page and creating the transactions separately. So I'm just going to share some slides with you today, and then we'll go through a demonstration so that I can show you how it works. All right. So we are going to talk a little bit about the feature overview. So I'll just give you some idea around when it was released, what it's used for, what are some of the benefits of using it, what are some of the limitations of using it, and there are also some intelligent matching features with it that helps you set up some rules around matching against customers that may not perfectly match. There are some exception handling rules. Say, for example, you know, if it couldn't find a customer, if it couldn't find an invoice number, couldn't find a matching amount, what do you do in that case? And then following all of that, I will go through a demonstration to show you how we import a bank statement, how we use the automated cash application feature to create payments against customer invoices, how we set up the matching rules, and then we will follow that with our usual bank rec process of matching bank data. So we'll go through the matching bank data and clearing all the lines from the bank statement, and then reviewing those, and then the final step of reconciling the account. So that pretty much really is the end-to-end process of your bank reconciliation process. And then once we are finished with the demonstration, we'll have a Q&A session. Please feel free to ask any questions as we go. Just put it through the chat and Andrew will let me know with those questions and we can handle them as we go. Or you can wait until the end. We will have a Q&A session and we can go through that then as well. And then we'll finish up with the conclusion, and I'll also just give you a little brief about the Cash 360 that Andrew spoke about before and how this automated cash application is going to be quite useful so that we can actually make the most of the new feature Cash 360. So for every business, effective cash management is critical for us to be successful, but having the money deposited in the account is only part of the process. These payments need to be matched to the appropriate invoices so that we can then clear them from the accounts receivable. When this is not done in a timely manner, it affects your cash flow statement and also your balance sheet, which shows higher receivables than you actually have. So you don't necessarily, so you may think you have more people owing you money than is actually true. So automatic cash application reduces the amount of time that you need to spend on the bank rec, which means you can actually do it more regularly and therefore have a more up-to-date cash flow statement and more up-to-date balance sheet as well. So this feature, like I said before, it's available to all and it was released in our last 2021.2 release. It basically, when you use this feature, it automatically matches imported bank payments with open invoices in NetSuite. And once it performs the match, you can then submit it to create GL payments, which are automatically created and applied to the invoice, which means you can actually do it all in one screen. You don't need to move away from the screen to go and find the invoice or find the customer and then create a payment from there. It finds and updates customers on imported payments, and then it auto-generates the GL customer payments with just one click. It does have some intelligent matching logic to identify the open invoices for imported customer payments. And we also can set some additional customer mapping rules. Say, for example, if your bank statement had a different name to what the customer was called in your account, you could set some rules around that to say, okay, next time that you see this name on the bank statement, it belongs to customer A. You can also edit or update cash allocation on identified invoices. You can find additional invoices, and you can also auto-apply invoices to the GL customer payments. And finally, you can auto-reconcile the customer GL payments against the imported customer payments. So once you have created, what that actually means, once you have created the payment transactions, generally what you would have had to do is go to the match bank data page and then match it against your bank statement line and then go to your reconcile account statement page. What the automated cash application process does is a two-in-one step where it sends it straight to your reconciliation page, which means it disappears from your match bank data page. You don't need to go through and match again because it's already done it for you. Some of the benefits of this feature, so you can actually perform cash application on imported bank lines, irrespective of method of import. So if you are using automated bank feeds, which is available for some of the banks in New Zealand, or if you are still manually importing your bank statement, you can both use the cash application. You can use the automated matching rules to support matching on invoice IDs. So it's sometimes if the customer is only paying one invoice, for example, you might have the invoice number in the memo line. You can actually, especially if you're doing a manual bank statement import, you can actually input the invoice number within the Excel sheet itself. So then when you get to the automated cash application screen, it has already automatically matched against the invoice. You can reduce time and cost of payment entry and invoice clearing. So like I was saying before, instead of having to do several different steps to actually move away from your reconciliation page, looking for your customer or looking for the invoice and then creating a payment against it, and then going back to your reconciliation page and matching that payment against the bank statement line, and then finally reconciling it. So instead of doing all of that, all you have to do now is the automated cash application screen. It's just the one screen. You create the payment, you match it automatically, and then you move on straight onto your reconciliation page. It can eliminate data entry errors. So for example, if you have a customer that might have two invoices, one from December, one from January, for the same amount, it's quite easy when you're entering a payment to accidentally pick or apply the payment against the wrong invoice. Because we can set some rules around exception handling, and you can make sure that it always applies to the oldest first if it can't find the invoice number, and also if there is an invoice number, it'll find the invoice number and it'll automatically match it. So it reduces those that room for errors, which is better for your accounts receivable aging reports. So it can lower your days of sales outstanding, because with this feature being quicker to reconcile, you can therefore reconcile more often. You can do it on a daily basis if you need your cash flow statement to be more up to date, your balance sheet to be more up to date, and your AR aging report would look much better as well. I'm also going to talk about some of the limitations around this feature. Currently, it is a fairly new feature, so it's only been around for one release now. So it's still a work in progress, and they will still be improving some of these limitations really. But for now, cross-currency and cross-subsidiary invoice application to payments are not supported. So if you have customers that are multi-subsidiary customers and they may have invoices in different currencies, that is not supported by the automated cash application. Consideration of discounts and credit memos during invoice application to payments. So that's not supported either. So when you go to apply a payment to an invoice, it doesn't show you the credit memos or any discounts that the customer might have. So if you do have a customer where you think you might have, you've received less money than what is outstanding on their account, there is a possibility that there is a credit memo on their account, in which case you still need to go to the customer account and apply that credit memo to the invoice. Support of advanced use cases, such as handling consolidated payments for parent-child entities. So currently, if you are using consolidated payments, where you can create a payment at the parent customer level and apply all invoices, including for your child customers, automated cash application doesn't support that feature. So it only applies it directly to the customer. Ability to customize layout. So the automated cash application page or screen is fairly user-friendly, and it's quite intuitive, and you will go through that in the demonstration. But unfortunately, there is no ability to customize the layout of that page as of yet. Only money in transactions can be processed via automated cash application. So the types of imported bank lines that can be processed would be customer payments and deposits. Any outgoing payments will still need to be treated separately. So if you have a supplier payment that you might have made, you will need to go and then create a bill payment against the bill or against the supplier, which will then show up in the bank data to be reconciled. So that process remains the same. So this automated cash application only applies to money that is coming in. So there are some prerequisites and some setup that you do need to make to use the automated cash application successfully. So all bank and credit card accounts are available for this feature by default. So you can use it for every bank account that you reconcile in NetSuite. The types of imported bank lines that can be processed, I've touched on that before: customer payments and deposits. And any users that need to use this feature must have the following minimum permissions. So you must have automated cash application full. So this is obviously a new permission that came with the release. So you will need to go and edit the role and add this permission. You must be able to create customer payments, and you must be able to edit invoices. So automated cash application does include some intelligent matching features and just some logic around that, really. So when you open up the screen and it finds customer lines or invoice lines, so normally it tends to look for the invoice number. If it finds an invoice number, that basically trumps everything else, because there is an invoice number, the amount matches. So even if the customer name doesn't match, it will match against that line. Now, when I say match, I mean, it still goes through a review process where you still need to review it. You still need to submit it to your bank rec. It doesn't all happen automatically. So this page is more of a suggestion page where it shows all the invoices that it thinks you should be matching against, but you still will get the opportunity to review the transactions before putting it through. So it will match against your invoices if there are invoice numbers in your bank statement, in your imported bank statement. If there aren't any invoice numbers, then it will go and look for customer name that matches the customer name in your bank statement. And if there isn't, then it will show the customer name as blank, and which gives you the opportunity to go and find the customer from this page directly and then apply it against the invoices that will be listed in here. We do recommend manual import to ensure optimal customer mapping. The reason for that is bank feeds came in last year in 2021.1, I believe, the automated bank feeds. So we have, it's a fairly new feature in New Zealand, and there have been some bugs around some of the bank statements that are coming through, and some of them information is getting a little bit missed. For example, one example that we found is the particulars in the memo column is actually getting concatenated into one column when it actually comes through to your match bank data page. So that actually creates some issue around matching, especially if you really need those particulars and also the code or the reference and also the memo field to perform good matching. So because of that current issue, we do recommend that the bank statements are manually imported, and therefore you can customize that Excel spreadsheet to ensure that you have all the data that you need from the bank statement to make the whole process easier for you, really. You can set customer mapping rules for automatic matching. So like I was saying before, so for example, you may have customers that are called A as their trading name, but in your account you might call them B. So when the statement comes through with a payment from customer A, NetSuite is not going to be able to find customer B and match it against customer B. So what would happen then is you would find that customer B, match against it, and then you will create a mapping rule. So the next time, every time it receives a payment from customer A, it will automatically know to match it against customer B. The generated payments are automatically submitted to the Reconcile account statement page. So once you create the payments and you submit it from your automated cash application page, it goes straight to your Reconcile account statement page. So you don't have to do it all again and match it again to your bank statement line in the match bank data page.
Hey, Meera.
Yes.
I've got a couple of questions for you.
Yes, sure.
One from Susan. Is there a video available on bank rules for payments? So for example, a rule to create entry for bank fees or lease payments automatically?
Yes, so there are a couple of different ways of doing that. A video, I'm not sure if we've created a video, to be honest.
Okay.
But
I think so.
Yeah, there are definitely videos of how to actually do bank rec in NetSuite, and that you can find them in Suite Answers, and we can send out some links to that.
Okay.
So a couple of different ways that can be. Sorry, Andrew, you were saying something.
No.
No, okay. A couple of different ways that you can actually treat that. So you can create some rules around that, and you can do that from your bank rec page. So say, for example, you receive rent, or you pay out rent every month, or you receive a particular payment, some kind of subscription fees every month. you can actually set up some rules to say, okay, this means that it needs to go and create this transaction. So generally what a lot of people find is rather than doing it from the bank rec page, you go and create a memorized transaction instead. So if you're going to be paying the exact same rent amount to the exact same supplier every single month for a specific date range or indefinitely, you can create a memorized transaction that will automatically post that bill, or it will prompt you to post that bill automatically on the 1st of every month, so that when you or a journal, you can create memorized transactions for all sorts of different transaction types, really, so that when you get to the bank rec page, that transaction already exists and you don't have to create it again.
Great, thanks, Meera.
Yeah.
Another question. You know how NetSuite looks up the invoice number? Yvonne was just asking, will it look up part of the number? So for example, if the invoice number is INV 001234, but a customer's only put in 1234, well, how accurate is it in matching those sorts of things?
So it will not. So it won't
Okay.
do a partial match. It will only find the exact match.
Yep.
But in saying that, when you go through to the screen and you select the customer, you can actually view all the outstanding invoices within that same screen. So
Gotcha.
you can actually expand on the screen, and it will display all the invoices that are outstanding with the outstanding amount. And you can then find exactly which invoice you should match it to.
Brilliant. That's it
Great.
for now. Thanks, Meera.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so now we'll talk about how it handles exceptions. So if you actually receive payments where the customer it cannot find a matching customer, it cannot find a matching transaction, you can set some preferences in terms of what you want the cash application to do, really. So the payment application preference, it can be found in your accounting preferences under setup. And it's under accounts receivable. So the field is called apply payments without invoice numbers. The preference really is whether you want to apply it by payment amount first and then to oldest invoice, meaning match the exact amount first and then find the oldest invoice. Apply to oldest invoice by date of aging preference. So what it means by aging preference is how you age your invoices. So under the also under accounting preferences and general, you can actually set the way you want to age transactions. So your aging reports can use transaction date or due date. So it follows this preference. Or you can opt to just keep the payment unapplied if you want to actually manually review those lines and then do something about it yourself, really. All right, now we will move on to our demonstration.
Meera, before we jump in, I've got another question.
Sure.
This is time from Sarah Jane, who asks, can it find a sales order number as a reference to the corresponding invoice number?
No, unfortunately it can't. It can only apply against invoices. So it doesn't do deposits against sales orders, because sales orders don't really show up as something that is outstanding, for example.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So it only displays invoices with an amount due where it has an outstanding amount. Unfortunately, because sales orders don't do that, it doesn't actually show up.
Brilliant. Okay, thank you.
Okay, that's right. Okay, so I'll just go through and show you the accounting preferences that I talked about just now. So under setup, accounting, and accounting preferences, if you go into the general tab, and under general ledger, you can select what your aging reports use, whether it's transaction date and due date. And if you scroll down a little further into accounts receivable here, you can choose which option you'd like to use in terms of the matching logic for payments without invoice numbers. So that is entirely up to you and what you feel makes more sense to your business practices, really. So let's get into it. So we're going to go through the entire bank rec process, really. So we'll start off with uploading a bank file. So we'll go into transactions, banking, import history, and upload file. I'll just quickly show you the file that I've got here. So basically, this is a file that I've created based on the CSV template that you can get out of NetSuite. So it will recognize the cash application screen will recognize any payments that are positive payments, meaning incoming payments. So it will recognize these 3 lines. So it won't actually show us these 3 lines because those are outgoing payments. Let's go and upload that file. We'll import it using a default parser. Import. Okay. And up here, you'll see a little green banner to say that the upload has completed. Now we can click on this here to track our status just to make sure that it was successful. So now you can say that it was completed. You can see that earlier I was doing some testing and you can see that one of them had failed. And generally it does tell you why it's failed. So in this case, the date was in its correct format. Now with manual imports, if you have accidentally imported an older statement that you have perhaps reconciled already and you don't want to do it again, or for any reason really, that if you want to delete the import and redo it again, you can delete the import. All you have to do is just click on delete import. So you can see that with these 2, I have done that earlier. However, you can't do that with automated bank feeds. So now we can go into our match bank data page to see what's in there.
Meera, before we move on to that, could I ask an import question?
Sure.
This time from Sandra. She says, we've been set up to import bank files as a .ofx, and can they change it to a .csv so that they can manipulate the files?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. So if you are currently using OFX files to import, you can actually just change it. You can change it to CSV, no problems at all, really. So there are a couple of ways of doing that. And if you do need a hand with this, do let us know. Just sing out and we'll give you a hand with it. So you can actually use the CSV template that comes with. So in that screen that I was at before, you can download the CSV template and use that template. So that template basically looks exactly like this and it gives you the details in here. Sometimes it can be a little bit painful to do it because this is based on, the US. So you can see that the date format is month, person, and dates and all of that, which may not necessarily match what you export from your bank statement. So there can be a little bit of manipulation going on, right? So the better option, another option that you can use, which is also a fairly new feature, is the CSV parser plugin, where you can create a parser that reads your bank statement in the CSV format as it is without having to manipulate it too much, really. So for example, if your date is date and then month and then year, we can create a parser that actually reads that data the way it is, and then it passes that into NetSuite without having to use this template. So do let us know if you would like us to look into that for you.
Thanks, Meera.
Okay, so back into Match Bank data page, I will choose my bank account. Okay, so now I can see all my bank lines in here. So they've all come through. I've got 3 customer payments and 3 outgoing payments. And then on the account transaction side, I've only got supplier payments that I've made, and I've posted the bill payments in NetSuite already, but I haven't got any customer payments. Generally, we don't, customer payments don't really go in until you get it in the bank statement. So instead of having to go and find the customer or the invoice now, let's go and use the automated cash application. So again, transactions bank, automated cash application. And we will choose our bank account. Okay, so we had 3 lines and all 3 lines have appeared in here. This second line here, it has an invoice number. So I'll just show you what that looks like in the statement. So under the invoice number column, I had entered the invoice number that I wanted to be matched against. So it has found that invoice number and matched against it for $535 because it found that the amount was also matching. However, even though the customer name is actually exactly the same above here for this line here, because there was no invoice number, it didn't find the customer. And the reason for that is because the customer name is slightly different. So basically it didn't find an exact match and therefore it's not going to suggest anything for us. Let's look at the one that it has already matched. So we can expand that line to look at it a little bit more. So if you click on the plus sign, it will show you that this is the invoice number, this is the date of the invoice, this was the original amount, this is what's due, and this is what's been applied against it. If we're happy with it, we'll just leave it as is. Now let's go and do the first line here. So it says no customer, so we need to actually go and find the customer. So let's go and look for the customer. I've just clicked on it. I have very few customers, so that makes it easy to find. So now that I've chosen the customer, it's asking me whether I want to make a customer mapping role. So basically what it's asking me is this payer always going to be making a payment for this customer in NetSuite? If yes, then next time it will recognize that and it will match it against that customer automatically. In this instance, yes, I do want to make a role that where it matches to that customer at all times. Great. Now it's automatically found an invoice that matches that amount. So let's go and double check that that is correct. Okay, so it's found an invoice that's $800 and the applied amount is $800. Now I just want to go and check there aren't any older invoices perhaps or any other invoices that it could be matched against. So I'll just click on view invoices. Okay, so when you click on view invoices, it will display all invoices that are outstanding for this customer. And from here, you can unselect the invoice that is applying against and select a different one if you prefer. Or if you're happy with what it's done, just go save and we're good. So that's okay. So we'll just tick this box because we are happy to submit that. And then the last one. So now surf trading is found no customer. Again, let's go and find the customer. Now, I know for a fact that this customer in NetSuite is called Red Beach Holdings. So I'm going to make a role. Again, it's found that invoice where it matches to that amount, and I can go and have a look at it if I want to, and it's applied against it, and I'll just tick the box. Okay, so now we've created a couple of mapping roles. So next time when these customers pay, it will automatically match it for us. So we can view the mapping rules now. So I'll just click on this view customer mapping rules to view all the customer mapping rules that you have previously created, including the current one. So we've created two here, payer similar to surf trading, memo similar to January 22. That doesn't necessarily have to be similar, but it's just automatically picked that up. And the customer is this. Art 2, the customer is this. So we'll close that.
Hey, Meera.
Yes.
Question from Daryl. Is the view of all the invoices sortable? As it could be a really long list.
Yeah, no, I think you can sort it by due date. Hang on, let me see. Yeah, so you can actually look, click on the columns here.
Right, and that will sort them. Okay. Thanks.
Okay, so now we're happy and we've reconciled all three lines, matched all three lines, and we'll submit it. So it's going to generate 3 payment lines. It's just going to go and process those records. We'll just give it a minute for it to do its thing. In progress. Okay, we've got one that's complete. So I'll go through and do the rest as well. So let's go have a look at that. Alrighty, so it has created a payment against that customer and applied it to that invoice. Now, just be wary, one of the limitations was that if there are credits that are pending on this customer record, you will have to go and manually apply that credit note against the invoice. The automated cash application will not flag that, you know, that customer actually has a credit that's pending on that invoice. So let's go and refresh our match bank data page and check what's happened. Okay, so now all the incoming payments have disappeared because it has automatically done the match for us and sent it off, to the reconcile page. Even if you go into your review page, it still won't show up there because it's been actually submitted and sent off to the reconcile page. So when we go through that process, I'll show you that it's there. So now what we need to do is go through and reconcile the rest of the lines. So in this case, we've got 3 payments, outgoing payments that we've made to suppliers. So let's do the batch PFA. So we've processed a batch payment through the payment file administration. So generally batch payments, when you go through and perhaps create a batch on the 20th of the month, you will have a whole lot of lines. So it could be sometimes a little bit difficult to go and match that against every invoice in NetSuite, and it could be time consuming. Now, the good thing is in this match bank data page, it does actually show us the memo field and also the transaction number here. And for every PFA that is generated, it does have a batch number. So the batch number is this one here. So we've got 7 zeros plus 4. So in order to match that easily against the full batch payment here, now in this instance it's easy, obviously, because you can see the bill payment, there's only 2 lines, but in most instances it'll be a lot more than that on the 20th of the month. So let's go and find every bill payment that was paid through a batch. So we'll just put that in our search box up here, and now it's showing us all of the bill payments. So we're happy. Okay, let's say there's 100 lines and we don't really want to go through and tick each one. You can select this tick, just mark this box here, which will select everything, and then it will appear in the bottom and the box down here at the bottom. So we're happy. We can see it's $3,220, and that matches against our batch payment of $3,220, and we'll mark that as well. So we're happy. Those 2 things match, and the difference is $0. Let's match it off, and it's gone. Okay, let's clear this field here. Okay. We've got a bill payment in there, but that was from the next day, so we don't really need to do anything about it. So we're only reconciling all the transactions on the 20th. We're going to ignore the 21st. Now you can filter, put dates in here to filter the transactions only for the days that you are wanting to match against. Or if you think, if you want to make sure that there aren't any errors, so let's say you're reconciling for the entire week, and perhaps someone accidentally entered the bill payment as today rather than yesterday, and you still want to be able to view it, then just leave the filters blank. Okay, so now we've got a debit for Office Max, and we need to go and create a payment for this. So let's see if we can find an invoice. So it's Office Max. This window. Oops. Words, I think. There it is. Close all the tabs and then open that again. Okay, so we've got our vendor record here. We'll go and find our transaction in here, see if there's anything outstanding. Yes, there is one. Perfect. Let's go to that bill and make payment. Or rather than finding the supplier, of course, you can actually go to transactions, payables, and pay bills, or pay single vendor. So you can use those options as well. So any which way, it still gives you the same result. So let's make a payment. So we know it's $230. That is actually the bill that we paid, but we've paid it in the bank. We forgot to record it in NetSuite. So we're just going to do that now. Let's change the date for the 20th. And we are happy, and we're going to save that. Oh. Just give me an error. Let's see if that's come through. Oh, yep, no, it's come through. Perfect. So $230, $230, that's a match, we're happy. Now we've got one more line, and that's $10, and we know that we're not going to find a bill for this because it's just bank fees. And so what we want to do is go and add a journal entry perhaps. Okay, and it's automatically put in our checking account line in there for $10, and we're happy with that. And our date is correct, so that's okay. Now we just need to find back fees in here. Let's see, charges, $10, add, and save. Great. So the journal is posted. Let's come back in here, refresh our account transactions. We've got our journal for $10 and do a match. Okay, now we've reconciled every single bank statement line and matched it. And we can go to our review page to have a look at what we've done. So we can say that all of this has been matched. Now, what if you notice, what you can actually view is the details from the account transaction side and not necessarily the bank line side. If you'd like to have a look at what it has been matched against, click on the word matched and it will show you what appeared on the bank statement itself. And then you can undo that match if you think that was a mistake and just redo it again. You cancel that. Now, if you happen to have any transactions that you want to exclude from your reconciliation, so say, for example, the best example really is when you're first setting up your automated bank feeds, it will automatically go and download 60 days worth of excuse me, transactions from your bank. Now, you don't want to go back and reconcile 60 days worth, so you need to go and exclude those. So you can actually, that is an example where you would exclude something. Or say, for example, a payment transaction that you've put through in NetSuite, and then you've voided the bill payment. So basically it's plus minus and it's just going to end up as 0. You can either just match it off and send it to reconciliation, or you can exclude the transaction as well. So that will then appear under your excluded lines. So now that we've done our matching, we've got everything in our review page, we're happy with it. Let's go and submit that. Okay, so once it's submitted, we need to go and reconcile. That's the final step. So you can go to it from here, the reconcile account statement page. You can go to the automated cash application page from here as well. Or you can also go from transactions, bank, and reconcile account statement. Let's click on that. And select our bank account. Great. So now you can see all the lines that we have submitted. If you'd like to actually check which payments they were matched against in the bank, you can click on this view line and view the transactions that it was, this view line. If it's a one line that's been sent through, you're going to click on it and then you view the group match. So in this instance, this was matched as a group. So as a bill payment, so there were 2 lines that were matched against one payment from the bank. So that's what we call a group match. And that's where you can, you will see this view word here under the match group. And if you click on it, you can see all the lines that were matched in that group. Now, if you want to view the bank statement line, click on the review page and click on matched. And it will show you that bank statement line again. And from here, you still have an opportunity to undo the match if it's wrong and go back to your match bank data page, match it against the correct one, fix it, send it through again, submit it, and then come back and reconcile it. So now I'm happy, I've reconciled it. I'll put in my ending statement balance, which is, I think, 3625. Yep, that's my ending statement balance. My difference is 0. And I'll go through and hit reconcile. You're about to close the statement with close date 20th of February. Everything will be reconciled. I'm happy with that. Click OK. And we are done. So now it's showing me which one it is. So once you have reconciled it, if you think that you've still made a mistake and you need to go back and fix it again, you can actually go and delete that reconciliation and all the transactions will go back to where they were and you need to start the process again. A couple of things that I wanted to show you, in terms of reporting. So if you go back to the reconcile account statement page, you can actually click on reconciled statements. Oh, sorry. Reports under banking, bank register, and reconciliation. So there are a couple of reports that you can view. So with your bank register, that shows all the transactions that has been posted to your bank GL, and then reconciliation shows details of your reconciliation, pretty much. So in this instance, I'll choose my bank account, refresh, and my statement date is the 20th of Feb, and that's what I reconciled, and I got a difference of 0, and there's nothing left unreconciled. And the bank register will show us all the transactions that have gone through this bank account. Yeah. So that concludes our demonstration. Andrew, do we have any other questions?
Yeah, I had two other questions, Meera. Both I think were the same, and that is, what about a large customer deposit that relates to, say, 3 or 4 of their invoices? Could you show the process around that or talk to that?
Yes, yeah, sure. So basically, what we did before, and that, sorry, I can't really show it because I've already matched
No,
them.
it's all done. Yes, sorry.
No, that's okay, but I can just explain what happens then. So let's say a customer, so what we did just now with just one-to-one transactions and payments really, but if the customer was paying all of their invoices for the month, for example, then it will still show up there. It will still pick up the customer if it's found the correct customer, or if there is a customer that can roll, and it will actually match against several different invoices based on the aging preference, the payment application preference that you've set up. And you can still view those invoices in that list there. You can sort it if you need to, and then go and apply. If you think it hasn't applied to the correct payments, you can just untick the wrong ones and just go and tick the correct ones. So you can still use that screen to match one payment against many transactions.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Thanks, Meera.
No worries. So if there are no more questions, I might just go back to my slideshow just for a second.
Sure.
Okay. I just wanted to mention the future release that Andrew had talked about earlier. So in the next release, now this is potentially getting released in April of this year. So it's called the Cash 360 dashboard. So this Cash 360 dashboard is configurable, and it will include links to your key cash management activities. It can display reminders. It can show you your current cash balance, your AP and AR balances, your cash flow trends, a rolling 6-month cash flow forecast. Having this information will help your business leaders to make faster and better informed financial decisions. But for you to actually make the most of this feature, you need to make sure that your reconciliation is up to date, which then can give you accurate, up-to-date cash flow projections and cash flow statements, really. So please do give this a go. And if you are not currently using it, or if you're not even using the reconcile account statement and you're still doing the reconcile bank statement process the old way, and you need a hand with anything at all, please do reach out, because I do believe using this new process is going to help with the new release feature as well. There's lots of benefits with it. And lots of really good visibility around where your cash flow is at, and that can help you make quicker decisions really in the future. So let me know if you need a hand with your automated cash application process, or if you need a hand with the CSV parser or importing your bank files, or if you need a hand with the match bank data page or in the reconcile account statement page, and we can go through it together. We can set up a session, or I can send you some training materials if you wanted to just go through it at your own time. And that basically concludes our session today. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you found it useful, and I hope you get something useful out of it as well. And hopefully this will make your data life accounts process a lot easier.
We hope this video gave you the information you were after. If you have any further questions, get in touch with us using the links in the description.